Okay. Let me check if we are live. Hold on. All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone, and a very good morning. Welcome to Read with Tertib special. Today, my name is Sophia from Tertib Publishing. Today, we're having a special Read with Tertib where I was joined by 6 respected panelists. How are you guys doing? I hope everyone have a good day and everyone have a good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in and thank you so much for spending your precious and beautiful morning to listen to us today. All right, so before we go further, please allow me to share with you guys what is Read with Tertib and what is Read with Tertib special. So Read with Tertib is actually, it all started with a live session in conjunction with Tertib Publishing's first anniversary last year. And it turned into a regular one-to-one live session with our guest speaker where we dissect and we discuss books published by Tertib Publishing. And why it is special today, because Read with Tertib turns 1 this year on 24th June 2021. So today, today we celebrate our first anniversary on Read with Tertib, and we host 6 panelists that have joined me from previous Read with Tertib session. All right, before that, may I know if you guys can hear me and if you guys can see me clearly? All right, okay. So you guys can drop your comment on the comment sections below. All right, thank you, Anis. Thank you so much, Najmi Azamuddin. He says Yasmin Army is here. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, Anis said can hear clearly. Okay. Moving on. Next, I will introduce my panelists, my respected and my beloved panelists. I was joined by 6 of them. They have joined me from several episodes of Read with Tertib, and I am so honored and blessed to have them today. So first up, before we introduce our panelists, let's have an ice-breaking question to ask them. Okay, so the question is, which categories of reader do you fall into? So number 1, do you the one who read to unwind? Number 2, do you read day and night? Number 3, are you the reader who read when you have time? Or are you a book hoarder rather than a reader? Or are you the struggling finding time to read? Or you don't understand why people read because it's boring? So our first panelist that I would like to introduce is Sister Najibah Nasruddin. Assalamualaikum, Jibs.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
How are you feeling?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing okay.
All right. Okay, you look great. Okay, let me introduce Sister Najibah for you all. She's an editor. She loves to read, but life gets the best of her. She loves outdoors and likes to wonder how big the internet is. She joined me on the first episode of Read with Tertib. We go way back on the first episode. And we do 5 episodes, a series of With the Heart in Mind, where Sister Najibah basically cover to cover of the book. Okay, how are you, Jips? And okay, I have asked you that question. The question is, which reader are you?
Okay, so I think throughout my life, I've changed here and there with reading in terms of my habits. So I think in the early years, I would read as a form of make it as a form of my entertainment. So that would be to unwind. I think I would say I would read to unwind, to escape from my normal life, just to enter another world because I like to read fiction. Um, but nowadays, especially now that I am working, I would say I've become a hoarder, embarrassingly. So yeah, I have a lot more books than I have read in the past couple of years. So that's me.
All right. What do you expect from today's live session, James?
Um, no expectations because I'm that kind of person. I would like to be surprised by things. But I would love to listen to everyone's responses and how they are with reading, whether they're the same as me or not. Um, yeah, inshallah, I'm just really looking forward to hear everyone today.
All right. Okay. Thank you, James. I can't wait to hear from you too.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Sister Shahidah Amin. How are you, Shahidah? Assalamualaikum. Can you unmute your... Yes.
Hello.
How are you, Shahidah?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Can you hear me well?
Alhamdulillah.
Because my mic is not working.
I see. But now you sound clear.
Oh,
You
okay.
sound so clear and better.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. So Sister Shahidah currently doing bachelor degree in English from International Islamic University, Malaysia. She joined me on episode 13 where she reviewed a book by Yusha Evans titled How the Bible Led Me to Islam. How do you feel today, Sister Shahidah?
I'm quite nervous, but I think this morning I was nervous last night actually, but now I think I'm better. Yeah. So Alhamdulillah, I'm well.
All right. So which reader are you?
I am I think I'm quite similar with Najibah because I used to read a lot. I used to read day and night, but um now I'm basically a book hoarder, like Najibah. I have more books than I read. So yeah,
All right. Okay. I cannot wait to hear from you later, inshallah. Thank you,
inshallah.
Shahidah.
All right.
Next up, we have Rauhana Ishamin. Okay. Assalamualaikum, Rao. How are you?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I'm well.
Alhamdulillah.
A little nervous still, but looking forward.
All right. So Ralph is currently studying physics at UITM, and she joined me on episode 16, where she discussed a book by Dr. Omar Sulaiman titled Allah Loves. I remember I want to sign up to her support group if she has any, but unfortunately, not yet. What do you expect of today's live session, Ralph?
Pretty much like Sister Najibah, because I think it will be a very fruitful one because we're discussing opinions and stuff. So I'm looking forward from everyone opinion.
All right. So yes, the question: which reader are you?
I would say still similar to Sister Najibah because I used to read a lot too, and it's because I want to unwind. And I'd say fictional fantasy books are my favorite still. But as I grew up, I chose like non-fictional books like self-help. So those kind of books is not really like interesting as in like there's no storyline and stuff like that. So I just read casually when I feel like I need motivation or anything like to enlighten my mood. So that's I think that's the type of reader I am now.
All right. Thank you, Ralph. I'm looking forward to hear from you.
Inshallah.
All right. Next, we have our one and only brother, Shafi Sharuddin. Assalamualaikum, Fi. How are you?
Salam. Alhamdulillah. Well and steady.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So, Brother Shafi joined me on episode 17, where he discussed a book by Sheikh Hasib Noor, Farewell, and he holds a diploma in Islamic Studies. So, which
Alhamdulillah.
reader are you, Fi?
Um, well, you got 3 people for book holder, right? So this will be the 4th one.
All right.
Same to Kak Najibah too. I have more books than what I've read.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for being so honest with us today.
Right.
I am looking
Welcome.
forward to hear from
Yeah,
you.
me too.
All
Sure.
right. Okay, next we have Farah Yasmin. Assalamualaikum, Yasmin. Assalamualaikum, Yasmin. Okay, I think maybe Yasmin needs some time to connect back to us. Next up, we have Sister Maria. Assalamualaikum, Sister Maria.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you,
How are
Sophia?
you?
I'm fine, thanks. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, a little bit of about Sister Maria. Sister Maria is a medical doctor and currently working in clinical research. She loves fantasy fiction and mysteries, sometimes historical fiction. She enjoys non-fictions that are written in narrations, example 1000's Road to Makkah and Monk of Mocha. One of the biggest lessons she get from her reading for the past 3 years how we need to eradicate poverty. Sister Maria also believes with privilege comes great responsibility, and we should become the change that we want to see in this world. Is that right, Sister Maria?
Yes.
All right. Sister Maria joined me on episode 20, 21, 22, and 23, where Sister Maria shared some names of Allah from the book, reflecting on the beautiful names of Allah. So, Sister Maria, what can we expect today?
Well, I'm expecting a lot of different but very nice new views from all the panelists about books and about reading.
All right. Okay, so which reader are you, Sister Maria? We have 4 book holders here. Are you the 5th?
Well, I think recently I can say that I am not anymore. Because I try to not buy if I have like quite a few already in my hands, and whatever I couldn't finish I'll just give away to other people. I'm not keeping the books anymore, and I try to read day and night actually.
MashaAllah.
Because there's a lot of things to read and to learn.
All right. I cannot wait to listen to you, Peter, inshallah. Thank you, Sister Maria, for joining us today.
Right.
All right. So next up, we have Yasmin. Is it everything okay, Yasmin?
Yeah. Just now I got disconnected. Sorry.
All right. No problem. So Yasmin is a second-year Bachelor of Economics student from University Malaya. She is a big fan of self-help and any non-fiction genre that mainly study humans' behavior. And Yasmin joined me on episode 18 of Read with Tertib, where she reviewed a book by Yasmin Mujahid, I Lost My Way. We had a great time during that session, right, Yasmin?
Yeah.
How do you feel today?
A bit nervous, I think.
All right. Okay, the next question, which reader are you?
I think I read to unwind, and reading is a form of how I escape from the real world.
Okay.
When I am in a tenseful situation, then yeah, I read to feel better. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Yasmin. I cannot wait to listen to you later, inshallah. And thank you for joining me today. All right. Okay, so before we officially start our session, let me enlighten everyone here on how it's going to work. So the live session have 4 parts of it. The first is introduction, and Alhamdulillah, we have finished with the introduction. We have get to know our panelists, and we know which categories of reader are they now. The next part will be the main agenda, where we split the content into two rounds. The first round, we are going to discuss why do we say or why do we claim reading is overrated. And the second round, we are going to find out, is it really overrated? And after that, we're going to have a Q&A session and the closing session where I will do all the boring stuff. All right. Are you guys ready? Are the audience ready? All right. My panelists say that they are ready. So, okay, a little bit about the topic. Is reading overrated? So, what does it mean by reading being overrated? It simply means that this hobby, reading, is being highly valued or highly rated, but or in today's term we call overly hyped. But does it really worth the value, the rating, and the hype? So we're going to discover it today with our panelists, inshallah. And there are many reasons why people read. Like most of our panelists today, they read because to unwind, and Sister Maria read day and night. Some for entertainment, some for inspiration, some for knowledge and information. So let's start with round one, shall we? Where we discuss why do we say reading or why do we claim reading is overrated? I will come up with the situations. I will come up with 4 situations or ideas that may be leading to reading being overrated or maybe not. And we will listen to response from our respected panelists. Are you guys ready? All right. I can see my panelists so excited. Okay. So the first claim why we say reading is overrated, because the evolution of book, where if we compare from the previous age and now, we can see a lot of difference in books that being produced. From previous age, we can see lots of academics books, philosophical and deep thinking books being produced. But nowadays, we can see lots of options of books that we can find on the market. We have books that speak layman language. We have books that insert cartoon illustrations, and we also have book that we can consider it low quality. So for the first question, I would like to invite Sister Maria and Yasmin to the screen to answer my first question. My first question is evolution of book from previous age till now contribute to reading being overrated? Or is it actually an advantage for us since it speaks our language? And does it mean that we have to filter or be very careful on what we read today? Sister Maria.
All right. Okay, I wouldn't. Number one, I think from previous ages, from I think even 19th, 17th or 15th century, there are books that is really like what you call shallow entertainments. If you read Grimm's fairy tale, for example, you will see that there's a lot of things that you can't believe they are writing about. But yeah, but you have to read it, and you find that it's, the time doesn't change people actually. But at the same time, I think it's good to have books that are of different levels of knowledge and of simplicity, because we do need to encourage people to read, and and yeah, anyone can start reading with some simple books that are easy to understand. And once a person is attracted to books, and they will go frequently to the bookstore, and then they'll find that there's a lot of other books that they can discover, and they read, and it will develop from there. So I think it is important to have different kinds of books, and different kinds of levels, so that people will be attracted to reading. At the same time, after that only, then we learn how to filter what we want to read. For example, if at first you just read some simple books, and then after that you realize that maybe you want to focus on certain things, but there are reading materials that are not suitable for in that particular topic, or in general, as at least as a Muslim, we do need to filter the books that we want to read. So yeah, and filtering is important. So but we can always start with simpler books, and then you go deeper and more detailed and bigger books as well. It's yeah, I think it's important. Yep.
All right. Okay. Is that it, Sister Maria? You think it's important and to encourage more people to read, right?
Yep.
All right. Can we have Yasmin to answer the question as well? Thank you, Sister Maria.
Yeah. Can you hear me clearly, Sophia?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. Okay, so for my opinion, I do think that evolution of book is actually an advantageous to us. Like, okay, the old book or any classic book, it's kind of hard to understand the content compared to modern book nowadays. This is because the author tried to the way that the author tried to convey their message in the book itself is a bit confusing. There are a lot of unnecessary and long words and sentences. That is my opinion lah. And then I also see that the evolution of book is actually an advantageous to us because modern books are way more concise and pretty straightforward to understand. It also attract people to read because I believe that in order to attract people to read, the author have to keep up with the trend, the current trend. But that doesn't mean that we have to go fully opposite way of the traditional writing. But what I meant here is that for the author to find the best way to attract people to read, because people are attracted to things that are easy to understand, and modern books have their own ways to impress the reader due to the technique of writing, the design of the book itself, and then of course the language that they use to convey the message in the book. So evolution of books is actually an advantageous to us, just like how globalization and digitalization take place in the world. And about the filtering, I do believe that filtering, just like what Sister Maria said just now, filtering is important, especially when you are a Muslim. And some modern book that goes through the evolution process sometimes use a harsh or inappropriate word. But we also have to know that who is the target market for that book itself. Like who did the author target when they produced that book. So we must always open our mind. We must always open to the idea of different perspective, because only by this we can understand. Like we have to understand why some people think this way, why some people don't think that way. Like only by this we can understand the world better and have a different perspective. throughout the world lah. Yeah, that is my point of view. Yep.
Can I
Right.
add
So
Thank
something?
you.
can we agree that this situation doesn't contribute to reading being overrated?
No.
No.
But can I add something?
Oh, sorry.
Sure,
Yeah.
Sister Maria.
Yeah. I think in the process of attracting people to read, and in the process of simplifying the books and the contents, it is important that an author sticks to the truth, especially in non-fiction books. Speak to the correct information, and not beautify the contents just to attract people's attention. And while beautifying, they add into it false information and extra information that is not supposed to be added, especially if it's about the Quran and the Sunnah. I think it's very important. No matter how much you want to simplify, it must be a simplified truth rather than beautified with falsehood.
All right. Anything, Yasmin, you want to add?
Anna, I agree with Samara.
All right. Thank you, Sister Maria, and thank you, Yasmin, for answering our question. All right. Okay, so our first question has been answered by Sister Maria and Yasmin. So they both agree that evolution of book doesn't contribute to reading being overrated. So let's have another mind-provoking questions next. That a statement that claims to contribute to reading being overrated is the evolution of knowledge and learning. So, like I said earlier, there are people who read to learn more, to gain more knowledge and information. And the evolution of knowledge has been changed throughout the ages, from the listening, the oral tradition, to reading, and now we listen to podcasts, we listen to YouTube videos, and we receive as much information compared to reading. So my first question to Sister Najibah and Shahidah is, how relevant is reading in today's society? And how about reading digitally or short info on social media? Is it sufficient? Where people nowadays want it fast and easy to access. So, Najibah.
Okay, so to begin with, I'd like to say that reading is really, the idea of reading is really wide. Like, you can read fiction, you can read non-fiction, and then there's so many different types of reading materials in between as well. So within non-fiction, there's articles, there's newspapers, there's encyclopedias. So it depends on what you're talking about. So to relate that with did you say social media earlier, Sophia?
Yep, social
Okay.
media.
So with social media, I think it's more, the things that we read on social media is more to do with facts, information, original information, authentic information, such as to do with current issues or anything that's happening around the world. We read to find out, in comparison to reading for entertainment, for example. But then there are also articles that provide you some form of entertainment, such as maybe short stories that people write, or even poems. So what I'd like to say is that you can't compare the idea of reading with reading on social media, because there's lots of different things that you read. And then those two are just different forms of medium, if we're talking about medium. So for example, if I prefer to read the news on my phone, then it's fine with comparison to people reading the news from a newspaper. Like, both of them, you get the same thing. So I don't have an issue with that, if people say that they don't like to read. So I think it's really important that you define what do you mean when you say you like to read, and what do you mean when you say you don't like to read. Okay, so to dig a bit deeper, I think why it's still important to read is because to read away from a screen, because for me personally it's a form of hobby, and like I said earlier, it's like a form of entertainment for me. So when I say it's a form of hobby, different people have different taste. So that would it's the same with as, for example, I would probably like to play tennis, and then Shahidah would probably like to play badminton. So and for example, in movies, I would probably like to watch history stories or history films, and then Shahidah would probably like to watch I don't know, fantasy. So when it's a hobby, you can't say, oh, your hobby is wrong. You can't say
Right.
that. You know, so yeah, your hobby is bad, or my hobby is better than yours. So it's to do with different people having different tastes. Okay, so I think with readers, we just prefer to to read different books, and of course different people have different reasons for reading. For example, they want, like Sister Maria said earlier, she reads to learn more, and then whereas with me and some other people that I've heard earlier, we like to read fantasy, so that gives us a chance to enter different worlds, you know. Okay, so that's to do with why it's still important. Okay, and then to add a bit more to why I prefer to read and why I think reading is still relevant is because I personally get tired of reading from a screen, because when you're it doesn't matter if you're working or doing assignment or anything. When you look at a screen, I don't know about anyone else, but my eyes get really tired, and my brain just gets heavy. So when I look at a book, when I read from a book, it's a lot more soothing and relaxing. And to add to that, it's a feast for my brain in terms of the vocabulary. You learn different words, you get to view things from different perspectives. So I think it's like it's really food for my brain. Okay, so I'd like to touch a bit about nonfiction reading. Now that sorry, I'd like to touch a bit about nonfiction reading, because you talked about social media as well, right? So I think I still read stuff from the internet. So it's still relevant if you read things from a screen. Only that nowadays there's a lot of false information, just like what Sister Maria said. When information is in a book, it's been checked, it's been verified, edited by different people of professional roles. So you get that authentic. And then I really like what Sister Maria said about information beautified with falsehood. So the materials that she touched upon earlier was sources of Quran or Sunnah. So those things are really important for you to know the authentic facts, right? And then but then again, like even with current issues, like for example, the latest one that's we're still going through right now is the vaccination. So when you receive information on these, you don't know, and this can range from WhatsApp, even articles people share legit from outlets. So yeah, I think that's the issue with that's my issue with reading things online, especially when it comes to reading facts. So I'll pass over to Shahidah.
Please, Shahidah.
Hello. I think I'm lagging a bit because I can't hear Najibah properly. So I hope you stop me if I'm lagging and you can't hear me properly. So yeah,
Now
the
it's
question
perfect.
is,
It's perfect.
it's
Your
perfect.
voice is clear.
Alhamdulillah.
Yep.
Okay, so the question is reading relevant, right, in today's society?
Yep.
Okay, so yes, I do think it's relevant, but it is not as important as it is compared to before, compared to zaman dulu. So I think in this context, it somehow can become a bit overrated because people would value reading too much. They think that it's the only way. This is in context of knowledge lah, for example. So they think it's the only way of gaining knowledge is only through the medium of reading books. So yeah, I think in this kind of case, it somehow become a bit overrated because they think it's the only way to become intelligent, the only way you can become someone who wise, and eventually it become a tool for you to underestimate people who don't read at all. So yeah, I guess yeah, but time has changed. Like Najibah said, uh, we can read digitally, but um and it and reading is not the only way to for you to gain knowledge. So um, for example, I think for me it's very important in how we can extract the knowledge from the book and apply it in our daily life. So yeah, book is just a medium, and if you think that um watching YouTube videos, it's more interesting and it's more impactful for you to apply it to your daily life, then I think it's okay. Yeah. Same with digital reading. If you think you can extract the knowledge more when you read on your screen rather than reading traditionally, then yeah, it's okay. It's more important for us to um, to highlight the importance of extracting the knowledge. You know. So for me, I think I prefer watching. Uh, I read. I love to read, but I do love to watch movies and documentaries and things like that. Um, so if I talk with even with Sophia, if day-to-day conversations with my family, uh, I can include the things that I watch rather than what I read. So I won't say something like Shakespeare said. No, you know. So yeah, I think it's important for us to extract the knowledge and apply it to our life. And digital reading, no problem.
All right. So it is still relevant, but maybe the medium has changed throughout the years,
Yeah,
right? So don't
yeah,
limit ourselves to only books. We can shift to social media. I mean, like digital reading, right?
yes, exactly.
All right. Anything else you guys would like to add, Najiba or Shahida, before we move
Mhm.
on to the next question?
No,
Not
I
me.
think I think me and Shahida are like generally on the same level with reading. It's like what I said with you. You don't criticize different people for having different hobbies and different preferences. Just because someone likes to learn more through watching than another person who likes to learn through reading, it doesn't mean that that person is bad. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
mm,
yeah, especially if you're like super busy. You reading books consume a lot more time than watching TikTok videos. TikTok videos only take few seconds for you to gain knowledge. So
All right. I love that example given by Shahida. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that Shahida and Najiba also mentioned and stressed about the importance of extracting the information and knowledge rather than looking at the medium we are using to gain information and knowledge. All right. Thank you so much, Shahida and Najiba, for the beautiful answer. All right. Okay, so moving on, we're still in the same topic of evolution of knowledge and learning. My next question would be to Shafi and Ralph. Let's invite them to the screen. All right, to Shafi and Ralph, I would like to ask, since Shahidah and Najibah said it's only the matter of medium, you shouldn't limit yourself to only books. So, is there any hierarchy in finding sources of information or knowledge? And is that reading better than the other? Raf, can you go first?
Oh, I go first. Okay, sure, inshallah. So, does reading have a finding knowledge have a hierarchy? So I think my answer to that is yes, because like I'm studying physics, and I'm sure like any other students have maybe their final year project, so where we have to do our research and stuff. So in order to do that research, we have certain articles that we use and is reliable for our research. So in scientific research, we have literature reviews and databases as primary source. And then we have textbooks and commentaries followed by interviews and journal articles as secondary and tertiary sources. So so these kind of stuff are really so I would say that the source of knowledge that we have in terms of books or other mediums, we do have hierarchy, and in different field we have different hierarchies. For just now is scientific research, and if for literature the ranking would be the opposite. And even in Islam, we have Quran and Sunnah as our primary source of learning the deen. So yeah, I think we do have hierarchy in finding sources of knowledge. So the next question is reading better than the other sources, right? To me, I think it really depends on how a person learn, because we have like a visual person, we have auditory, and we have kinesthetic. So when someone maybe they are more to the auditory, maybe they would prefer listening to podcasts, and that is the way they can maximize gaining knowledge. And maybe if for someone is visual, they would prefer reading or anything infographic. So yeah, I don't think like reading technically like is overrated, because like Shahidah and Sister Najibah said, we have different mediums of gaining knowledge. So yeah, but if someone is like visual learning is better for them, then reading is definitely the best lah. And in terms of obtaining the knowledge, I think I think book is the most abundant, as it is accessible everywhere, because it's been written for ages, and it's one of the ways where people um what did they say, like conserve the knowledge. So it's written, because uh, tape recordings are invented way later than books. So that's why some people tend to say like reading books are better to gain knowledge, because I think it's resourceful. So yeah, I think that's my POV.
All right, Shafi, what do you think?
For the first question, I do agree with Raf, because I'm studied the Islamic studies, right? Like Sophia too. We learn about the sources of the knowledge. We learn about the primary and the secondary sources, like the Quran, Sunnah, and then etc. But I do I do believe that there's no such hierarchy when it comes to the Western style educational, because when when I did search in Google, when I did search in Google, there's no hierarchy, but there's types of sources of the knowledge itself, like the journal articles, thesis, journal proceedings, and then books, magazines, and what's or not. But and then I tried to comply with the Islamic way too, because we as the Muslim, of course, we do follow the Quran and the Sunnah teachings. But in this I don't want to say in this word, but in this tradition way of study that we study in this world, we tend more to follow the Western side style, right? Because the we have to write a thesis to get a certificate from the college or universities. Yeah, I do think that there's no such hierarchical of the sources, but in Islamic perspective, yes, it is. And for the second question, is reading better than the other? I have to answer yes and no. Of course, those two options only. Why I do say yes? Because like actually Raf has concluded my answer actually. But what do I want to add is the yes answer, because simple info on the interactive videos or YouTube or anything that you can find, like Shahidah said, TikTok. I do not play TikTok, so I don't know there's information on TikTok. So okay. So yeah, simple info on the interactive videos can provide, I think it's provide the tip of an iceberg, the simple info. But when it comes to digging in deeper of that info, like it or not, we have to search it, whether on Google or, yeah, of course, nowadays it's Google. Like it or not, we have to read about the facts, the information. My second answer of the no answer is because for some people, of course, like Raf and Shahidah and Kak Najibah also said that there's some people that not prefer to readings to gain the knowledge, the information. They tend to gain it more from the interactive videos and from the simple idea of the information itself. So that's my answer.
All right. Thank you so much. So according to Ralph, in the discipline of knowledge, we have the hierarchy. Which one is the best until the least. And it is different. It is different in terms of if it's physics, then it's like this. If it's biology, it's like this. And what Shafi said is the information we get on the videos or compared to reading is just tip of the iceberg. So we have to read in order to know more and to dig more. All right. Anything else you guys would like to add?
I'm not really sure though, but I think that's probably it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I have a question. Since we're not very sure about the hierarchy of knowledge because it's different. According to the subject or according to the topic. But do we have a certain guidelines? Certain guidelines on finding knowledge? Shafi or Raf?
Yeah. Okay, me
I'll
first.
pass to Shafi.
All right. So examine the author, the information. I do think about the timeline itself, the timeline of the information get published. As in I said about about the journal articles or published book. talking about some certain of topics, there's publication date that maybe some of it is 1995, but then it discuss the same topic in 2005. It's like 10 years apart, but the same topic, but it's different idea from different author. So I say the timeline itself is the way to determine the information itself.
All right. So the publication date is important
Yes.
because as the timeline is closer to us, maybe it gets more relevant, right? Compared to
Yes.
something that written 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yes,
All
that's right.
right. Thank you so much, Shafi and Raf, and sorry for that impromptu question.
No, it's okay. Sophia, I think I would
Yes.
like to add some because
All
after
right.
listening to Shafi's explanation, I think I would agree on the Western knowledge doesn't have hierarchy. There's like the types we have types of knowledge, but
Yes.
I would say that about the guideline of extracting the knowledge, we have uh, of course like the publication date and stuff like that, because it opens my mind that it's not about the hierarchy, it's about the reliability of the information, so the relevance of the information. So um even in my research paper, I have some papers that is from 1998 because that person is the first to find the certain knowledge. But in as we progress, we have more modern scientists, and so like the information is more, and that's how some people find new things lah, like how the evolution of atomic models. So from the previous scientists, they couldn't prove certain things. So when people do more research about it, they find new things. So that's how they debunk the irrelevance of the previous information. So yeah, I think it's about the relevance of the information so that we choose which is reliable and what we can share in our research and stuff like that. But that's in terms of knowledge. So if we are reading leisurely, I don't think there's an issue about how old is the book and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. So in terms of
Sophia, where did Sophia go? Uh-oh.
Stop.
Sorry. Hilang. Sophia. Kita tunggu dia lah.
I'm back. Sorry. Technical things happen. All right.
It's
So
okay.
let me go back to what Raf has said. So according to Raf, there's no hierarchy in finding knowledge, but it depends on the relevance and the reliability of that information and knowledge.
Yep.
And yeah, we cannot quote from anyone and just from anyone and from anywhere that we don't know, right? So we need to find the reliable and the relevant sources. Okay. Anything else, you two, before we moving on?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Raf, and thank you, Shafi. All right. Okay. Next is we have answered two statements already that maybe led to reading being overrated. The number one is evolution of book. Number two is evolution of knowledge. We're moving on to the situation number three. Is reading culture can lead to reading being overrated? Is it somehow really a life changer, or is it actually just another KPI to fulfill? So to answer this question, I would like to invite Shahidah and Sister Maria to the screen. So Shahidah, what do you think? A book club, reading one book per week, reading one book per year, is it really a life changer or really effective? Or is it just another KPI to fulfill or another culture or another trend to jump to?
Okay, so first thing first, I'm I hold book clubs. I'm the CEO of. No, I'm joking. First thing first,
Okay.
a disclaimer. I I I have never joined any book clubs or yeah, reading culture. Because I'm a student too. But that's not an excuse, obviously. Um, but I think how book clubs can contribute to reading being am I lagging?
Yeah. Can you
Right now, is it okay now?
repeat that again? It's better.
All right. Okay. Okay. Like
Okay.
I said, I think how a book culture, book reading can contribute to reading being overrated um, is how it can change someone's purpose when they someone's original purpose when they read a book when they join the book culture. So um, yeah, so we know that book. For example, book clubs, they for example they would require us to read one one book once a month, right? So so if that's the case, then uh hancurlah saya. Because personally I'm a very slow reader, but depends on the genre. If it's like sorry, if it's like fantasy romance, maybe I can finish it under 1 week. But if it's a really heavy book that just contain a lot of information that require you to reread again and again, then I think I can't guarantee that I can finish that book under a month. And um, so this is how I think it can change one's original purpose. So for example, I would daripada I read for fun, it becomes a KPI to fulfill. It becomes um some things that jadi pressure pula. Benda yang fun jadi pressure to to finish the deadline, to finish that book under a month. And I think that yeah, dia jadi stress pula daripada untuk release stress. So
Just think about it, make you stress, huh?
yeah,
Just the thought of it.
yeah. But like I said, I don't know because I have never joined a book club. Maybe if you're like if you want to make some new friends, or you really like discussing books with others, or you can I don't know, you don't know what to pick, what to pick next, or on your dealings, then you maybe you can try book clubs. But if you're someone like me who can't stand people telling you what to read, uh and contohnya lah, for example, you have a book that you really want to read, but then you have to add another book on your list because of the book club, then it may becomes very stressful uh, to kejar deadline. Okay, so yeah.
To kejar
Oh yeah,
deadline. So,
and I want to add, if you're like book clubs can may also be, you can't guarantee that you can join every time, right? Because for me I'm busy, but kalau people mothers, they won't have the time to join every time. So yes,
all right. So
that's for
that's a
me.
perspective from a person who never joined a book club and enjoy reading on her own pace, right? So what about Sister Maria?
I think Well, I've joined a few book clubs since last year actually, but I'm actually inspired by my cousin she's number one, she's a housewife, she has 3 kids and she homeschools her children and she joins book clubs as well. So she has the time to do everything and she doesn't have a maid. Yeah, so I think if you really want to make time, then you can make time for it. But at the same time, I do miss some sessions as well because sometimes, yeah, it's not a book that I wanted to read, or it's not a book that I'm interested in, or I just don't have time for it as I have some other commitments. But obviously, you can always be yourself and choose which book club to join and which one to not, and which session to not join. But at the same time, about reading targets, I throughout my life, I've never put any target until back in 2017, when I heard someone saying that when she was in high school, her mother used to tell her to read 4 books a month, basically about 1 book a week, and discuss it with her mother at that time. And I found that this person is very inspiring in terms of her speech and in terms of her knowledge and her openness to information and knowledge, even now when she's almost 40 and she's always young and curious. So it's really quite inspiring to see someone who reads a lot, and we could see it from their personality and from their the way they approach their job. So since then, I started to put target for myself, and I think last year, alhamdulillah, I managed to reach the target. Does it make me rush? Sometimes yes, but most of the time, it makes me more focused and to not use the social media too much. And now the social media usage is more focused on books rather than anything else, which I think is personally beneficial for me. Because if we have a lot of books, say that you have a target of 4 books for a month, and then you keep on like going through Facebook and going through Instagram, and when are you going to read those books, right? So and personally, I think books are more beneficial than social media because you don't know what you get on social media, although there are a lot of important information there, and I got to know a lot of ustaz teachers on social media like Sheikh Yasir and Imam Umar and all that is from social media. But at the end of the day, uh, it's totally unpredictable. We don't know what we're going to see, and we don't know what we're going to hear from it. So having a reading target actually takes me off screen and do something at least more focused and more beneficial for myself.
All right. So it is a
Yeah.
life changer for Sister Maria. Can
Yeah,
you
it
say that?
is.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about a book culture where the main purpose, I believe, is to encourage people to read more, there's another question that popped into my mind. Does the quantity of books we read in a month or say in a year is important? Shahidah.
Yes. For me, I think it depends. Yeah. So, if obviously if you're doing an assignment, you quantity is very important. But I think if you read read daripada kita yang nak baca sendiri, then I think quality is more important. Like I said, it's important for us to extract the knowledge. So it's better to read one book that really impact us than 10 book that we can't remember at all what we read, right? So yes,
Okay.
I think quality is important. Yeah.
All right. Quality over quantity. Sister Maria, what
Yeah.
do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Shahida that of course quality is important, especially when it comes to non-fictions. But fiction-wise, I don't know. Yeah, but basically quality is important, and but the thing is, the more we read, the more we know which book to choose. Uh
So it takes practice.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we target a certain number of books, and then we look through the bibliophile and bibliography, and there's a lot of references back there. Like one of the books had like 20, 30 references that they see. So we look up who the authors are, and we see what's the pattern of their authorship and the knowledge that they impart and the way they impart their knowledge, and we know, okay, this author maybe I'm not suitable with the way that person writes, so I'm more suitable with the way this person writes. But it does take a lot of reading to come to that stage where we can choose properly what we want to read. So I think the quality, to achieve that quality, we need some quantity as well. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So I love what Sister Maria said. Shahidah said quality over quantity, and Sister Maria said to achieve certain quality, we need to do some quantity. All right. Okay. Anything else, Sister Maria and Shahidah, before we move forward?
Yeah, I think if I can give an example, for example, cooking, like we want to know which cookbook or which YouTuber gives the best recipe and what kind of, you have to try their cooking first, and you have to try all sorts of YouTuber or all sorts of, influencer or whatever that gives this one recipe is like almost 100% jadi, or this one maybe 2 or 3 out of the 10 that is really nice. So you know how to choose from there. It's the same actually with books.
All right. We need to keep on trying, try and error until we found the one and continue the process. Okay,
Yes.
Shahidah, anything else? All right. Thank you, Shahidah, and thank you, Sister Maria, for the answer. All right. So that's about reading culture for a book club. We are moving on to the situation number 4 that may be or maybe not leading to reading being overrated. Is reading is just an expensive hobby? So to answer this question, I would like to invite Shafi and Ralph to answer this question for me. So Ralph and Shafi, is reading only for rich or privileged people? Shafi, you go first.
Okay. For me, it's such an old stereotype kind of thing because, since we're little, we have been provoked with dramas and movies about those who read books have some cool shots and lightings and whatnot with their sophisticated outer appearance, but I think it's just a stereotype. Because even we look at the old times, like in our parents' times when they are studying or in their youthful days, in 80s and 90s, most of them are not even from class higher class, and I don't think they even um, affordable to buy some books, but they they you know they graduated. Also, they graduated from their schools by only reading from newspapers or magazines or just some light materials that they can find in those times. But nowadays, of course, with digitalized newspaper, with social medias that even have their own page that publish their articles, the news, I do think the rich people only read books is just a stereotype. And also, the youngsters nowadays are more clever than we expect them to be. you know, Even my sister have her own business. She has. I don't want to say that they have capability of gain some money, but they have ideas to gain their own budget, and with that money they can afford to buy some books.
All right.
That-
So is this an excuse for not to read?
oh, excuse um,
Because we have other resources that are not expensive, like you said, the digitalized newspaper and
yeah, even they are
newspaper
free, right?
itself. Yeah, they are free. So
Um,
don't limit your reading only to books that are expensive. Do you agree?
yes, but also it depends on some people to read, to have that passion to read. Maybe they don't even have passion to read from social medias or even the digitalized news. So it depends on people.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because there are people who are not uh, who are not fortunate enough to have the sources in any ways, right? Be it in the
Yes.
physical book or maybe the digitalized articles or writings. All right. Thank you, Shafi, for the answer. And next, Ralph, what do you think? Is reading, is this an expensive hobby for you?
Hmm. I would say yes, books are pretty expensive nowadays. Because okay, like it or not, I'm not saying like reading is for the privileged and the rich, but in our economy and the reality of today's world, like getting a hard copy book or even sometimes PDF books, which is official lah. It is quite expensive. I get really annoyed when I want some articles for my studies and I need to pay for it. So I I prefer something that is just off the internet, so it's easy for me to put in my paper and stuff. So yeah, books are pretty expensive nowadays because like comparing 5 to 15, I would say in Malaysia, but I'm not sure. I'm not really sure about other countries. But when I take a book from any bookstore, when I see comparing the books that I took, we can get $5 to $15 book in other countries, like the original country where the book is published, they sold it only like for $5 to $15, and then in Malaysia it's probably double in price. So I thought, yeah, maybe it's because of considering the exportation and stuff like that. So but that is in terms of books that are exported, but I would see the same pattern in our local books, which are often within that range juga. Because 30, we see books like around 30 ringgit too, even the local ones. So in that case, I do not know why. Because if the books are exported, I would say like the what do we say, the domestic reasons for exporting the books here and stuff, that would cost more, but for locals I'm not sure why. So this thing, I hope it's something that the government would do to make books more cheaper and accessible for everyone, because reading is definitely not meant for only for the rich and the privileged. It's supposed to be free for everyone. So I would really love the concept of like I don't know, maybe in Japan, sometimes they have like a tiny library just randomly in town or anywhere where people would put their book there, and maybe they take one. And so, like, everyone can share their book freely. So, yeah, I don't think it's for the rich and privileged.
All right. So that's the answer from Ralph and Shafi. So actually, we all of us agree that it is not just for the rich and privileged. Maybe um, we just don't found the 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 less expensive books, because it's actually there are many bookstores that offer cheaper books.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes. So yes, it's not just for the rich and the privileged. So thank you, Shafi and Raf, for the answer.
Welcome.
All right, phew, it's already 1 hour and 15 minutes. Mashallah. So we have done with our first round of the session, where we discussed about why do we say reading is overrated. Okay, so before we move on to the next round, to the second round, where we will discuss is it really overrated, I just would like to say thank you so much to all of you who have been watching since the first minute. And if you guys have any questions or any curiosity in your head, please just drop your comments on the comment section below. And inshallah, towards the end of the session, of this live session, we will discuss it together, inshallah. All right. Do you guys ready for the second round? Okay. All right. So second round, we will be discussing is it really overrated? Okay, so I have posted a question on our Instagram. Maybe it was on Thursday. I asked the audience whether they think it is overrated. I think I think if we answer it through the first glance or without thinking it too much, we would say it is not overrated because we we synonymize reading with a noble hobby. So a noble hobby cannot be overrated. It will be evergreen till last. So in the second round, we will see maybe the positive side of reading that offers us. We could not deny the fact that reading brings so much to ourselves, from the character development, improvement of vocabulary, our writing or speaking and whatnot. So for the first question, I would like to invite Najiba and Yasmin to the screen to answer my first question. All right. So my first question is, what reading offers us? Yasmin.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Okay, you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Okay, so book has been around for a long time, and back then it used to be the primary source of entertainment for a lot of people. But in the age of technology, everyone has a lot of reason not to read anymore. But this is something that those people do not know. Like, to be frank, I will say that there are a lot of benefits of reading. If you Google it, like, there are a lot of pages showing you the benefit of reading, advantages of reading, and all. But okay, different people have different reason to read. But for me, I do believe that reading does help me to reduce my stress. Okay, I'm not sure about the others, but do you guys ever encounter like one day when everything just feels so wrong that even you get annoyed with your phone, like even having your phone on your hand like like irritate you? Yeah, because I did encounter that sometimes. I'm not sure why, but like I don't really feel like sleeping and all, like it doesn't help. But to my surprise, that actually I find that reading is the solution for this problem lah. Because whenever I was overwhelmed with workload, I will stop for a while, and I will actually like read few pages of the book lah. And even when there's a due date that is coming really towards the end, but when I cannot take it, like when I really cannot take it, like I was like, oh man, this is too much, and I like there's no quality anymore in my work. I will actually stop. I will stop. Like I won't continue the work even though the deadline is really coming. So I will just put it aside, and then I will just sit down and read some book, like not too long, maybe just few hours, and then like actually it does affect my mood back. It is actually a mood booster for me, and in the end I end up like having more quality work, I think. Yeah. So like other than that, like what Sophia mentioned just now, like it is general, like everyone know that reading help you to improve your vocabulary, grammar, writing, because it all relate to one another. But as a non-fiction book lovers, I would say that reading non-fiction help us to understand the reality better, while fiction sometimes take you to the imaginative world. Non-fiction, it unfolds the reality. You get to know the real people and their life. It also provide you with a lot of facts. It gives you the true picture of the surrounding, and it helps in making the reader practical. Okay, next, non-fiction expand readers' horizon. It makes one smarter to understand the real life concept. Facts you get from non-fiction book can also become the topic for you to debate with your friend. Yeah, it makes one curious. It makes one curious to know thing, and it expand our thought process, which allow us to form our own argument. Yeah. So actually, non-fiction book can be a source of your idea to start a debate with someone, I think. So, and it will boost your mood if you are reading a self-help or motivational book. But okay, going forward, I'm not sure how far this is true, but a lot of research say that reading fiction books are better. Some of the reason is that fiction help us to understand other people's perspective, because it is actually a melt between the mind of the reader and also the writer, and then the mind of the reader and the character. When we read fiction, we are seeing the world through the character eyes, and watching a character interact with the world around them is powerful, and that require a high imagination skill, which I don't have. So that's why I don't really read fictional book. So and this is also lead to a powerful potential as a creativity booster. Having a high imagination skill leads to a creativity booster. Yeah. And lastly, I have to agree with this that reading fictional fiction book help us to stay focused, because okay, for example, if we read a novel or any short story book, we must have the skill at focusing to what we are doing, because in order for us to dive deeper into the text, because if you got distracted, you totally lost, like you like tiba-tiba you lost lah, like you memang takkan faham balik apa jalan cerita dia sebenarnya yang tengah jadi. That's why it require a lot of focus compared to non-fiction. Non-fiction is like there's no continuous, like you can just skip, even you can just skip the pages, you know, like some motivational book like doesn't relate to one another, the pages. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can conclude that reading non-fiction and fiction both have their own benefit lah. But I still go with non-fiction. Yeah. Back to you, Najiba.
All right. Is books a stress reliever for you, James? Like it did to
Wow.
Yasmin.
Okay, just before I start, I think I was lagging a lot in the previous session while I was speaking. Is that true, Sophia?
From my
Was
side,
my voice
it's not really bad.
okay? Well,
But
just
yeah.
let me know. Let me know when I
Okay.
start breaking up so that I
All
can
right.
repeat or whatever. Okay. So
Sure.
I love everything that Yasmin has said. I truly understand where she's coming from. She sounds like a really hardcore non-fiction reading advocate. Which I love. I love energy. So yeah, kudos to Yasmin. But I, on the other hand, love reading fiction. I'm sorry, fiction wins over anything else that I read. However much I love facts, I love watching documentaries, just like Shahidah. I love reading the news as well. I love to keep up with issues in the world that's happening. But at the same time, I'll always have a soft spot for reading fantasy or anything, or even just general drama reading. I mean, books with the genre of drama, if you understand what I mean. So why I love reading fiction is simply because I get to travel. I get to travel to different homes. I get to enter different households. I get to view different countries or even different. It depending on what you're reading. Sometimes you get to and I love seeing things from different opinions of people, different. You get to see through the eyes of, for example, someone who has a really high status in society, for example, and how they deal with the people around them, or even if a character was going through slavery, what what is the idea of life then in their eyes, So everything that Yasmin said, I can still relate because this is gonna, I don't know if some people can relate with me, but I learn about life through reading fiction. It sounds crazy, but I don't know where to start. For example, I learn about politics through reading about I don't know, maybe governments of different of an entire fictional world. So I learn about faith, I learn about loyalty, I learn about love, all through fiction. And I think it's for me, it's, I want to say, I don't know if fun is the word, but I think it gives me a sense of satisfaction because I can't pinpoint this person as a real person, For example, I can't be totally against a person simply because he or she doesn't exist, So I just like that I here. And
James?
at the same time, these values still very valuable because both, yeah. One, two,
Can you
three.
repeat? Can you repeat? Because it's a little bit lagging.
Hello, am I still there?
Yes, you're still here.
Okay.
But can you repeat?
Okay. So
I think
what
yeah.
Okay. I can't where I started lagging. Am I still here?
Yes, you're still here. I can hear you. James, are you there?
But I'm that the internet won't be anymore. But I'm here. I'm talking, but I think my internet is really bad. I'm sorry.
But now it sounds better. All right, we will give Sister
Can you
Najibah
still
some
hear
time.
me?
I now I can hear you. Is everything okay?
Okay. Am I clear now?
Yes, you're clear now. Can the audience tell
Okay.
us
It allows me to
you guys
travel
can
to
hear?
different environments.
Right.
And secondly, I love to see things from different people's perspectives. So that's the two main points.
Right. What I love about this discussion is I gotta hear from two different POVs. Like just now, we can hear Yasmin's POV from the one who really loves nonfiction, and from James who really love fiction and really enjoys fiction. And just like previously from Shahidah who never joined a book club, and from Sister Maria who have been joining a book club for some time. That is really amazing. All right. Anything that you guys would like to add? Yes, me.
Hello. Oh yeah. Yeah, I do agree with Najiba. Like, actually, like, I cannot really say like one is better than one, but because I actually adore people that can read a lot of fictional book. But sometimes I think that those people that read fictional book, like I wanna say, hey, get back to reality, bro. Especially when all the romance punya video and all the drama. I cannot brain too much of fictional. Even movie also like I cannot lah. Yeah, that's on my side lah.
I can relate to that. Thank you, Yasmin. Okay. All right. Thank you to both of you for the beautiful answer. I think we will move on to our next question to Sister Maria and Ralph. Let me invite them to the screen. All right. So my next question will be, is there any correlation between reading and being a morally good person or educated? Sometimes people see someone who read being educated, being high in morality. So what do you think, Sister Maya, about this?
Okay, number one, if you're too busy reading, you wouldn't have time to do anything bad to anyone. But yeah, well, actually, it depends on your intentions and your upbringing as well, and what you read. Because if you read just to entertain yourself and the contents are not morally upright, there is a risk that you will be influenced by what you're reading, and not necessarily influenced, but there is a risk that you start thinking that, oh, this is actually okay to do, or yeah, it's okay to not care about other people, it's okay to live an individualistic life, um, if you're not careful. uh, but there are a few research actually that was done, that shows that the more of your upbringing and your background knowledge would has a lot to do with how you process and digest a book and its contents. Basically, some children and some teenagers were given books about that has moral values, and a lot of them actually don't get the moral values that the author wanted to give, wanted to give. So it actually not necessarily, even if you're reading something that has a moral value in it, it's not necessary that you'll be influenced by it. It's more of your upbringing with your background knowledge. So if your surrounding, if your parents and if the culture around you has actually morally sound, and no matter what you read, you will get the right moral lessons. But if you don't know where you stand on, and you don't have a but it depends, if your intention of reading is to learn some moral values, and you read some books that teach us about moral values, then yes, we will be more morally upright after reading the book. But if you don't know where you stand and you read just about anything and without any intention, then maybe it wouldn't teach you much. Yeah. So and furthermore, actually, morals are taught, and morals are mainly learned from example. And we could see that kids usually learn a lot when they watch their parents as compared to when their parents tell them to do. So if the parents are the kind of people who pray, who are nice to their own parents, and the kids will actually follow. But if the parents keep on telling the kids to read a book or to not watch too much TV, but when the parents don't read anything, And when parents only watch TV the whole day or only scrolls down their social media the whole day, then their children wouldn't follow. Yeah, so reading is not the only way to be a morally upright person, but it is one of the it is a good way if you are already having the intention to be a better person in the future.
All right. So moral is actually it depends on our intention when we read the books, and most of the time it it affects by our upbringing, right, Sister Maria?
Yep, our parents, family, and our surrounding.
All right. All right. Thank you, Sister Maria. Ralph, what do you think?
How reading correlates with moral, right? Question. So I think it to relate moral with reading. So I think it depends on what the person consumes for their mind. So yeah, if they read I think some books are really explicit. I think I had my friend back in high school. She really didn't know what book that was, so she just bought for the hype, and she brought it to school. So actually, the book was 50 Shades of Grey, I think, and the boys were around her table and like asking her, "Hey, can I borrow your book?" Because she really didn't know what the content was. So actually, the book was about something really sexual and stuff. So, you know, some boys in high school. So they took the book and read it with their gang. So it's really rare to see some boys read novels in schools. So that's why my friend realized like she flips through the book and she's like so embarrassed of bringing that book to school. So yeah, I think it really depends on what the person consumes. So after hearing what Yasmin and Sister Najibah said about the difference between fictional and non-fictional books, so it really opens up my mind that the pros and cons of both, because some people read to unwind the reality. So that's where people read nonfiction, and some people learns how to understand people better through fictional, or like get off the reality and go travel places just by reading. So I agree also with Sister Maria about some people, they become more understanding of others by reading, because like I'm not like bragging or anything, but some I have quite some friends that came to me for advices. So I and for me to listen to their problems. So I think I'm a little more empathetic than some, because I grew up maybe reading like books like Enid Blyton, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and those are fictional. So I read a lot of fictional books. But yeah, as I grow, I think I don't really have the time, or like I didn't really make the time to read like a very thick book. So instead of um, extracting, and being more empathetic by reading fictional books, so I read non-fiction books that are like self-help books. So the pages and the topics are written where I think, well, I think I need to learn this stuff, so I can just pick and choose the chapters that I want to read. So and about being morally good or bad by reading, I think um it relates to each other, because first, if you have a principle, then when you read something, you can filter what you want and what you don't want to influence you. But also by reading something, it will influence you, maybe a little percentage, but it does reflect of how you communicate with others. It helps you with maybe more imagination if someone who reads more fiction. So yeah, I think that's how it relates to morally good or bad.
Right. So according to Ralph, it really depends on what we consume, what we read. because somehow it affects us, right? On what we read, it affects our life and it affects how we think and view world. All right. Anything else, Sister Moria and Raf would like to add?
Yeah, because Raf spoke about Enid Blyton. I think she teaches a lot moral values as well. I remember reading some of her books and I realized, you're not supposed to do this. And oh, this it's nice to do this because of this. And yeah, even in her fantasy books there is dwarves and all these other imaginary creatures, and they will talk about it's a book with she writes books with a lot of lessons on how to carry out our daily lives, and they are quite useful as well. I think even now it's not wrong to read Enid Blyton, no matter how old you are.
True. And Yasmin
You're
agrees
never
with
too old. Never too
Yeah,
old for
but
fiction.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Ralph and Sister Maria. All right. We're moving on to our next question. Another three more questions to our panelists before we take questions from our audience. All right. So next is what caused people to stop or avoid reading? I would like to invite Shafi and Shahidah. So what do you guys think that caused people to stop or avoid reading? Shahidah. Unmute your mic.
I almost, I always forgot. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. So when I got these questions from Sophia, I think the thing that came across my mind was during my high school years. I have a friend. She's not close to me, by the way. And
Acquaintance
she
then.
said she said that she don't like this particular book that I like, and I said like, why? What's the reason, right? And she said, because she don't like to read. So at that
Wow.
time, I think she's me before I got into reading, because before before I hello,
Hello.
is it okay now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Uh, where was I?
You are she before you start read.
Oh yeah, okay. Because I think I used to think that I can understand why people read, because I prefer watching televisions more. I don't know. I think it's just a very boring thing to do, you know. Because oh sorry, because we basically, we learn boring stuff through school, right? Through books. So, but when I found one book that really sparks my interest, and really just um got into newer change of books. Uh, uh, it was because of that book. So I think what makes people stop reading or avoid it altogether is basically because they haven't found the right book for them. Yeah, and um maybe if they try, they they find it boring because uh yeah, it's not the book for them. They have not given the chance to the right book. So yeah, I think that's for me.
Shafi, what do you think?
I do think maybe because how the text have been developed for over like 10, 20 years back, people are more tend to entertain themselves with the videos, the graphics, the from through the pictures, and they do not see the reading as one of the an escape way from the reality, and they don't see how reading is important as important as the entertainment is, because they see the entertainment in giving knowledge. They seek the knowledge from the entertainment that they watch, even from fantasy movies, the non-fictional dramas. Yes, and also, yeah, I don't think they they value the the value of readings as much as how they value the entertainment that they watch nowadays.
Right. They didn't have the same spectacles as the one who enjoy reading, right?
Yes.
They have different view on it. All right. Anything else you guys would like to add?
I think for me, basically, I think what stops, what what makes me to lose a little bit of interest in reading is maybe because uh, I don't practice reading, because like I said, we often don't have time, and like me, I don't prioritize reading in my leisure time. So I think through that practice, it contributes in me losing a bit of interest in reading. So yeah.
All right.
Okay,
So would you
same
like
as same goes to me.
would you
Because
guys like to practice more after this?
Yes, of course. Inshallah.
because
Keep
I
me
also
updated, okay?
because I also see the interactive videos on YouTube are more
Yeah.
attractive in gain the knowledge, the information, than reading itself.
All right. Okay. So thank you guys for your ideas and perspectives. All right. So that's about what caused people to stop or avoid reading. Maybe our audience have some thoughts too on this. So let us know on the comment section below, guys. All right, we're moving on to the second last question. I would like to invite Yasmin again and Sister Najibah to answer this question. Do you guys think that we have to revive this culture? If we have to revive this culture, please share with us the tips. Please, Najibah.
Okay, before I start lagging again, I'm gonna try to speak really fast. So, number one, I think parents have to play the most important role because you can only get kids to read when they start young, and then that habit will stay with them until they grow up. Once they become teens or adults, and especially now in the age of technology, it's very difficult to compete for books to compete with screens. It's just the reality right now. And then there's so many fun videos, like even us readers, we get attracted by them and we leave our books. So that's that, parents. Number two, your question was, do we need to?
Yep. Do we need
Yes,
to
I think we need to, because at the end of the day, everyone has to start by going to school, and when you go to school, you have to read anyway. So when kids, I don't know about technology learning now. I think that's also trending. In classrooms, you have to, you have to make videos, and you watch through videos, you learn through videos. There's lots of different mediums now in comparison to just books. So I think it's good to have a variety. That's my take on it. Because, like I said, reading will always be relevant because from reading, the skill of writing transcends from the skill of reading, because without you being able to read and learning vocabulary and stuff, it won't help you to be better at writing, which is another important skill that you need to learn through life. And then secondly, I have no problem with people listening to podcasts or listening to audiobooks, which is also great. You learn a lot as well through that. For example, if you prefer to listen to people talk, that's also fine as long as you're learning. I think that's it.
All right. That's really fast and no lagging at all. Super, mashallah. Okay. Thank you, Najiba. Yasmin, what do you think?
Okay, Sophia, like, okay, honestly, like, this question is the question that I spend most time finding the answer, and I'm glad that Najiba covers a lot of it. And and okay, like, just what like Najiba said like just now, parents does play a big role because they need to like teach their children to start reading at early in the age. But even though I agree with that, but it doesn't happen to me. I started reading not because of my parents forced me to read, or it just come to me and I read. I don't know why.
Just
Yeah.
come.
But other than that, yeah, yeah. So like other than parent punya role, I also think that people have to start looking at reading not as a hobby anymore, but a daily need for your soul. Just like how you feed yourself every day with foods, reading
Wow.
is indeed feeding your soul. And imagine not feeding it for so long, so like your soul will be starving. But I also
Mashallah.
agree with, yeah, but I also agree with Najiba lah. Like it's not only reading, like as long as like we gain knowledge daily, then it's good. Yeah. And yeah, I think Najiba already covers a lot of it. I just want to say that and then make it a habit like to read at least few pages a day, no matter how busy you get, no matter how tired you get, like at least even one pages is enough. Yeah. And eventually you will become you will read naturally. Yeah, you don't have to force yourself anymore. Yeah, thank you Najiba for covering too much.
All right, so that's a tip from Yasmin. If you want to practice reading, start small, start 1 to 2 pages a day, and the habit will comes to you, inshallah. All right, thank you, Najiba, and thank you, Yasmin, for the beautiful answer. All right, we have come to my last questions to our panelists. I am yet to find questions from our audiences. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment on the comment section below. All right, so my last question is for all of my panelists to answer. So first up, I would like to invite Sister Maria. I would like to invite Hannah, and I would like to invite Shafi. Okay, so my last question is how to make reading meaningful and get the most out of it. And does annotation help? Sister Maria, what do you think?
Basically, one simple answer is by applying what we read to our lives. Annotations help in organizing our thoughts and to understand the particular passage or narratives, because sometimes information or knowledge is put in paragraphs and we want to tease them out one by one. So we need to put it in a point form sometimes, especially if you're reading non-fictions. Sometimes things are all over the place, or it's not the way that how we organize our thoughts. So annotations, we do that so that we could remember those things or understand the points with our own process. But at the same time, but to make reading more meaningful, we really have to practice what we read. We have to apply it in our own lives. For example, if we read about being kind to our parents, then we try to be kinder to our parents. And if, for example, we stay apart from them and we just see them once or twice per month, and then we try to increase that and see what happens to our life and to our relationship with them. Or if we read about spreading smile and salam to people, then we start to spread smile and salam to strangers, and we see how they respond and how it changes our day-to-day lives. And if we read about gratitude, we try to practice gratitude in all our situations and see how it changes our lives and our perspectives of whatever happens in our life. So uh, that's how we make our reading more meaningful. And then the next time we read something that is similar to that, then we realize that, oh yeah, we've learned all these things and we have done this and we can understand more what the author is trying to say. Yeah, so that's how we make reading more meaningful.
All right. Thank you, Sister Maria. Raf, next, what do you think?
Um, yeah, I agree with Sister Maria because like I think I've heard over the radio a phrase which it says ilmu tanpa amal itu lumpuh, amal tanpa ilmu itu buta. So yeah, if we read and we have knowledge but not practicing it, it's basically like being a computer. Maybe we just store the information, but only when a certain coding or we call the coding, only then it functions. So it's our responsibility to call our coding to function through what we stored. So yeah, and yes, maybe through fictional books, I have not experienced annotating stuffs and extracting information from that because I just feel like it just takes me somewhere else. But for my self-help books, yes, it really helps me in um, extracting the information and making full use of it. So when I need to when I need to look up again for the infos that I get from a certain chapter, then I just flip through my other notebook which I have extracted the notes, so I don't have to read the whole chapter all over again. Yeah, it helps by writing it down in I think in my way. I think it's better in point forms and in words that I understand. So the next time I read it, I understand. But for others, maybe they have different ways to extract and make them understand better. So yeah.
Right. Thank you, Ralph, for the reminder to not be like the computers. All right, Shafi, what do you think?
I do think that, yeah, I agree with Sister Maria and Raf, but I do want to add some points. Actually, one actually. um, when it comes to meaningful in readings, I do interpret it to how you, you enjoy the process of reading itself. So for me, if you read just, some people just read it plainly, just once in a lifetime, that book only, just one book once in a lifetime. But for me, if you, for me, it's just in one text. I try to understand if it's non-fiction book. I try to understand the the message that the author want to relay to us. I try to interpret it in some certain point of views. That's how I enjoy my readings. I don't know how the other the others enjoy themselves in that process of readings, but that's how I enjoy my readings. Interpret it into different point of views. You know, humans can have various point of views. So I try to, prospect it in their point of views.
All right. So from Sister Maria said we have to practice and apply what we read to our life. From Raf, the beautiful points from Raf is we don't want to be like the computers. We don't want just want to store data in our brain and not apply it to our life. And Shafi enjoys reading by trying to understand the message that the author wants to convey to us and try to interpret oneself perspectives. Thank you so much, guys, for the tips and tricks, maybe. All right. Next, I would like to hear from Shahidah, Najiba, and Yasmin. So, Yasmin, how how to make reading more meaningful and get the most out of it. Yasmin?
Oh, I thought Najiba's turn. Okay, sorry. My internet was lagging. Okay. Okay, I believe like okay, how do we get the most out of our reading? Okay, I believe everyone know tabbing punya style, where we put the sticky notes on the book. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So tabbing your book is the best way to get most out of your book. We can tab our book depending on different situations such as quotes, sad scene, happy scene, emotional scenes, and I believe that color does play a big role also. Like for example, maybe you can tap your book with red red sticky note for sad scenes, blue is for the happy one, and yellow is for the quotes that attract you. And just like what Shahidah mentioned just now in the first round, okay, like always remember that quality over quantities. It is what you gain from your reading that matter, not the quantity of the book that you read. But on the other side, I also agree with Sister Maria who mentioned that in order to achieve the quality, quantity matter too. For example, a lot of people keep on saying, you keep on saying this quotes like all over the internet, like work smart, don't work hard, work smart, work hard, study smart, not study hard. But I believe that it doesn't work if you never study hard before. So in order for you to have the skill of study smart, not study hard, you have to struggle at the beginning. You have to struggle until you reach to the point that okay, now I can start uh, working smart instead of working hard. Yeah, but back to the quality over quantities. Okay, don't force yourself into a timeline. Like Sophia punya question just now to Shahida, I think uh, don't force yourself into timeline. For example, like one book, one day, one book, one week, one book, because like read at your own pace. Reading should be fine, not the other way around. If you got the opposite feeling, like what Shaida mentioned, maybe you haven't gotten the right book to read. Yeah. Yeah. Next, I pass it to Sophia.
All right. Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you so much. So it takes process in everything that we do to achieve something. It needs to undergo some process until we become smart out of it. Okay, Shahida, what do you think?
I remember to unmute this time. I think basically I think everyone already summed up what I want to say, how to make reading more meaningful. So like Yasmin said, I think for me I think it's very important to read at your own pace, and I want to include that I used to like limit how can I say this? I read with my own timeline, but I when I read I made a rule for myself that I cannot read other books when I'm reading this one. I have to finish this one first. Yeah. So I think it's important that sometimes we don't have the mood to read this one, so we can just read the new book that came in our post. The new book from Laju. So yes, I think it's important to read it on our own pace, and also like what Kak Maria cakap about how the importance of extracting the knowledge, right? Um, I want to give an example of for example, when we read even the Quran, we can see the difference when we read with, for example, in Ramadan, we kejar untuk finish the whole Quran, but we don't actually um, tengok maksud, read the meanings, and even the Quran is that we have to amal, macam Rafana said, amal luluh, yang itu. Yeah. So yeah, everything what they say is already sum out what I want to say. I'll pass to Sophia.
All right, thank you, Shahida. What about you, Jip? What do you think?
Okay, my tip is going to be especially for those who are lazy and don't want to read. Read when it doesn't give you a headache or it doesn't make you uncomfortable. If you're still forcing yourself to read, even if it makes you really, really stressed out, like you want to read, you pick up a book, but it's making you stress. So don't do that. do something else first and then come back to it when you feel like it. And then don't read the entire book. Don't even read 2 pages. Just read 1 paragraph. That will be okay already. Like before you want to sleep, maybe, or even when you first wake up in the morning, just to start something, just to start a habit, maybe, if you really want to read lah. And then, because like I said, it's going to be really important for you, especially when you start going to college or whatever working, whatever you're doing in life is going to help you. Again, don't really fuss over reading a book you can read on your phone, but don't read social media. Read maybe a news article, or if you like gossip, celebrity gossip, maybe like from Hollywood, start reading that, something that you like, and then slowly from there you can start reading maybe more serious facts, like anything, about animals or about how things are made, and then just from there you will start evolving lah, inshallah. So that's my tip for the lazy ones and for the trying ones.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for the tips on how to make our reading more meaningful and get the most out of it. All right. Phew, it's 2 hours already, mashallah. So we have finished all the questions to our panelists. I would like to thank all of my panelists for being so energetic and being so responsive towards the questions. And actually, I'm lost of words. I cannot express myself enough of how thankful and how blessed I am to have them today with me on this live session. Thank you so much. If you guys see me keep on looking at this side, it's because I'm handling the technical parts on this side. And this is only for my camera. All right, we have received a questions from the comment section, but I am not quite sure the meaning behind the question. So I we received a question and I questioned back the questioner to elaborate more on the questions to make us more understand. But okay, but while we're waiting for our questioner on YouTube to elaborate more on her questions, maybe I will start with my questions. Oh, it's never ending. Okay, I don't want to keep this long. Maybe I'll just ask one, or maybe the most is 3. Okay, so the first question will be, so what I can see from our discussion today is there are different perspectives, there are different point of views, there are different types of people who read. Like, for example, Shahidah, Najibah, they love fantasy. They really love fantasy, and they get so much from fiction books or from documentaries that they watch. And we have Yasmin, who is so energetic and so high-spirited when she explained about how important is self-help books to help us and to motivate us to continue life. She even mentioned that reading is like feeding your soul. So imagine you're not feeding your soul in one day. So my first question will be maybe to Yasmin or Sister Maria. How does it actually self-help books or non-fiction books really help us going through life? Because what we read is theory in the book. We read on how people, testimonial from people who actually doing until they come to another stage of life. So how is it actually affect us when we read non-fiction? Yasmin, you go first.
Oh, okay, I first. Okay, so for me, the reason why I love reading non-fictional book because mostly like it motivates me lah. Okay, one of the best book that I read like, and even now I still belek buku tu lagi is The Rules of People by Richard Templer. And okay, this book, okay, like how does it help me going through life? Like how do I put it in words? Okay, so basically macam buku ni kan dia ajar kita macam mana kita nak deal with people. It helped me to understand people better. And whenever some people is like being shitty or anything, I tend to okay, I understand what you're going through. I tend to try to understand them like what is happening to them. Like and then I like it and this book is like it teaches us like how to win over a situation, but how to win people. Macam what can we do? Like okay, like some people they don't really need help. They just need us to listen. We don't have to offer our help. Being there is enough. Like you don't offer too much to people. Like you have to know your level of oxygen first before giving it to the other people. Yeah, so I think like it's kind of help because I think like yeah, I don't know how to put it in words, but I think it does help because I tend to understand people better when I read the self-help book. So sympathy, empathy, I don't know. Yeah, so I can relate to the people yang going through a hard time and same like Rafana, like people keep on coming to us to seek advice and we just listen lah. Yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, that's all.
Right. What about you, Sister Maria? What do you think?
To be honest, I don't read self-help.
Okay.
I found it. I don't know. I don't get self-help, but I do read. I do read non-fictions, and my reads are actually half non-fiction and half fictions. I alternate between all of them. What was the question again? How do we?
So from one who didn't read many of self-help books, what do you think? What do you do you read self-help before or do you never read self-help?
If Yasmin Mujahid's reclaim your heart, yeah, it's a self-help, then that's the only self-help that I've ever read.
All right. Okay. Okay, maybe the questions for you is why you can't relate to self-help books.
Because I have my own life and I have my own opinion, I guess. Okay, the kind of like self-help or the kind of things that I read to motivate myself is mostly stories about people who have gotten over some challenges in their lives, especially number one, stories from the Quran mainly. That's why I love Surah Al-Kahf about the story of Prophet Musa and Khidir, because it has a lot of lessons. Even though you read it every week or every other week, it still gives you a fresh view on what you're facing in your life. At the same time, yeah, actually a lot of motivations I get from all those speakers and lectures by like Sheikh Yasir or Umar Sulaiman, or sometimes Numan Ali Khan I used to watch as well. They are more motivational than the books, to be honest. Yeah. For books, that's why I like the stories that true stories, but written like a narrative. For example, like now I'm reading The Road to Makkah by Muhammad Assad, and I read 1000 Roads to Makkah. That is a compilation of Hajj journey by uh, Michael Wolff. And there's another like really brilliant book called The Monk of Mocha. Who's the author? I can't remember the name. But yeah, those kinds of stories, actually life stories of people, their journeys, they're real and they have a lot of lessons that we can learn from there, and it fits our values as well as Muslims. So that's how we learn to motivate ourselves and to be to face life challenges. Yep. And
Alright.
another thing, yeah, and this is the part where reading is overrated, I think, because I learn a lot from listening to other people, talking to a lot of people in my life and listening to their stories and going back and thinking about how they are facing their lives and their challenges, how we are, how it fits with our own narrative, our own stories as well. These are the kinds of things that you don't get in books. For me, is you get from seeing people, from meeting people, and from talking to a lot of people around us. Yeah.
Real life stories of people.
Yes. Yes.
Alright. Thank you, Yasmin, and thank you, Sister Maria, for the answer. Alright. I think we're going to take the questions from the comment section on YouTube. We have one from Farisa Shanas. Maybe I would like Raf and Najibah to answer this question for me. Sister Farisa asks, is it true by reading many books is another form of procrastination? What do you think, Raf?
Um, I think this applies to someone who reads a lot, like day in, day out. And maybe just like how some maybe sports enthusiasts, they go and have a 5 kilometer run or jog in the evening just like to procrastinate because they're avoiding a task that they really don't want to do. So like just like reading, maybe this person finds joy and like maybe they have their serotonin hormones secreted when reading books. So yeah, it gives a sense of pleasure. That's why we are procrastinating. So I think this person is trying to say like when the book is really pleasing or maybe like helps her or him um get off the reality, so they tend to read more to procrastinate for not doing the things that they would feel will be mentally and maybe physically draining. So yeah.
I think it's another level if people use reading to procrastinate. We usually don't want to read and we procrastinate to read.
Yes, that's right.
All right, James, what do you think?
I agree with Rapana. It's similar to what Yasmin said earlier about when you're stressed out, you do something that you like. So for someone who really, really loves reading, they will probably read to escape the thing that they need to do at the time. So I personally can relate to that, but not to the point that because I don't read like every day. But when I do have things to do and it stresses me out, I do reach for my favorite book. So I guess it happens.
All right. Okay, I hope it answers your question, Parisa, and thank you so much, Najiba and Raf, for answering the question. So we are actually at the end of our live session. It's already 2 hours and 17 minutes. I can feel the time moving. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah. All right, so before we conclude our session, maybe just a quick leaving note from our panelists. Some apa tu nama dia, last word from our panelists. Can Shafi, Shahidah and Rao share your last word first? Shafi, please.
Last word
Yep, last word.
I do want to say that not to um, not to force yourself into reading, but look the reading as one of the hobby that you can participate in, that um, you can put more effort into it. But I don't think I would want to say put more effort. I just want to say that reading is more enjoy when you enjoy about the content itself.
All right.
So do reading and also don't leave the Quran.
All right. Thank you so much, Shafi, for joining me today. Shahidah, any last word before we conclude our session?
I just want to say thank you for everyone, especially Sophia for her hard work. I think she prepared this section a year before. Joking. And also, I want to thank you to all the panelists and to the audience. Read, read kids. Yeah, that's all from me.
All right. Thank you so much, Shahidah, and thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you. All right. Ralph, last words from you.
Yeah, same like Shahidah, I would like to thank Sophia and Tertib Publication and everyone else because like this is as I expected, this is a very fruitful discussion. Like I have seen many perspectives and like yeah, it's really interesting because we have non-fiction book reader and we have fictional book readers and we have a person who goes to a book club and who does the students and working people. So yeah, it broadens my view of reading and gaining knowledge. So my last words, I think yeah, I agree with Shafi. Like, you should probably try to adapt reading as your hobby. I read something on Twitter. He said about changing our habits daily. So like we change slowly and um apa sikit-sikit because like this guy he started a reading habit by 1% per day, which means he divided his time. So like we have I don't know how many minutes per day, but like for
Yeah, yeah.
but like he took 1% of that time to read. So this is also agreeing with Yasmin. So like we feed our soul, we feed our mind daily with something new and with knowledge. And I've read something from Temi Abdullah. How to produce great work is by enjoying the process. So yeah, when we enjoy reading, we enjoy the outcome of reading. That's how we tend to read. Yeah, that's all from
Agree.
me. I think.
All right. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Shahida. And thank you, Shafi. Next up, can we hear last words from Yasmin, Najibah, and Sister Maria? Yasmin, can you go first?
Oh yeah, like actually I want to add on something. I forgot to say this just now. The importance of
Okay.
reading for me, like you may not see it now, like those that haven't gotten into university, like they might not see the importance of it. But once you step into university, you will realize how important reading is because as a bachelor of economic, like we have to. I believe like this is for all macam semua study pun macam tu juga, but like economic, like we have to do a lot of reading for micro macro and all. And then one of my friend, he is previously from UK, and then he came to to study, and what he told me is that he was disappointed with our classmate, my batchmate, because he can see like the difference between people who read and people who doesn't, because the way that he processes all the information that is given by the lecturer is really good, and we can see like memang dia tu macam hero dalam kelas tu lah. And then he told me that I can see the problem with your people is that you guys don't read, so you just copy paste from the Google, and then you don't really understand the content, you don't find the joy, and you are not bothered to do reading at all, like you are not bothered to like do research on your own. Yeah, you only copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Yeah, that is what one of my friend told me. And then at that point, like I realized like how important is reading skills in university life, and that is why like in order for you to pursue your degree or anything, you need to pass your MUET depending on the course lah. But yeah, MUET does have that one element of reading. Yeah, so that is important. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Sophia and Maria, Najiba, Shahida, and everyone everyone lah. This is a very interesting discussion. I hope to see you guys again in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Yasmin. Thank you so much. All right, Sister Maria.
All right. Yeah. First, I would like to thank the Tip publication and Sophia and the whole and all the panelists for this very interesting discussion. Yeah, I agree with Yasmin that reading is a very important thing to do, and it's a very important skill as well, because it's not just about reading the words and digesting and keeping it into our minds, but it changes the way we see the world, and it changes the way we learn in the future. Although sometimes reading is sometimes overrated, but at the same time we have to remember that the first revelation to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is read. So there must be something very very important and something very beneficial about reading as compared to other sources of knowledge. But at the same time, we should not underestimate other sources of knowledge, like going to lectures and or reading other stuff or talking to people and learning one-on-one from about a skill from someone else. Those are the things that is important as well. But at the same time, if we go around and talk to others, and if we go around and go for classes, like for example, you like woodworks, you go to carpentering class, or you like painting or something. But if you read on top of going to classes, actually it helps you to improve your skills a lot more than just with one source. So yeah, reading is important, but there are a lot of other sources of knowledge and skills as well in our whole life.
All right, thank you, Sister Maria. Last but not least, Najiba.
Okay, I only have two things to say. So number one is, if you don't like reading and you're still learning to like reading, don't beat yourself up. It's fine. And then secondly, whatever that you're doing, just do it to the best of your ability, because whatever that you do to the best of your ability will be good, inshallah. So that's it.
All right, thank you so much, James. All right, I think that's about it, everyone. That's about it. Okay, so before we officially conclude our session, I would like to thank I would like to thank each and everyone, the panelists that are willing to share the screen with me today. We have Najiba, we have Shahidah, we have Shafi, we have Rafhana, we have Yasmin, and we have Sister Maria. All of them comes from different background, and they have their own perspectives. So I believe by changing ideas and changing thoughts would be beneficial to not just the audience, but to us as well, to keep on improving ourselves. Number two, I would like to thank all of my colleagues at Tertib Publishing. This is not just a one-man show. We have lots of people at the background who work so hard to make this happen. Yes. Number three, I would like to thank all of you who have been with us since the first minute of this live session. Thank you so much for spending your time. I know it's so precious to spend like 2 hours and a half with us and to listen to us. Thank you so much. Just a quick announcement to make. Number one is Tertib Publishing is currently celebrating our 2nd years of anniversary. So a lot of incentives, a lot of events coming up and happening on our social media platforms. So don't forget to to go to our Instagram and check out what we have for our 2nd year anniversary. I am sure you guys will find what you like, inshallah, and feel free to spread the word. And The second and the last announcement I would like to make is if you guys want to be part of Read with Tertib family, please don't hesitate to DM us on our Instagram or Facebook. All right, I think that's about it. I feel so good and I feel brain my brain is expanding, I guess, by listening to our panelists. All of the answers gives me new perspectives and new point of view because it's not enough to just live in our thoughts and in our bubbles. We have to hear from people. They have something that we don't know and we can share it together. I believe in the power of exchanging ideas and thoughts that will make our generation better with no feeling of we are better than the other. It's purely because we want to be better together. I think that's about it. Thank you so much for your attentive listening. Thank you so much for your overwhelming support. Thank you so much. All right, I think that's about it. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.